You have the Latin Americans who are Christian going into more secularized nations. So this is, again, an argument for secularism, not for Christianity.
Well, Christians are moving to more secular countries. So are Muslims.
Well, what are you talking about? The mass migration. No one's bitching about the mass migration of the Christians right now, are they, to Christian nations? They're bitching about it the other way around.
Oh, it's so bad. It's almost unbelievable that that was his response to it.
So he said that I didn't address his argument that Muslims rely on Christian benevolence because Christians have such high IQ that they could just technologically eliminate Muslims whenever they wanted. Well, Christians are at the mercy of atheists. Christians are at the mercy of higher IQ atheists. Christians are at the mercy of higher IQ Ashkenazi Jews. Christians are at the mercy of China and Asia. If you want to make a might makes right argument, then we're in the same boat, buddy. Muslims and Christians are closer together in the same boat compared to these other groups. So this is a self-defeating argument. Also, AI.
Actually, no, we're not in the same boat, and they're going to get into it, but it's like, we're not our cousins. You guys are, which is keeping your IQs perpetually low and even lower. And you can't build what is required. You don't have the requisite IQ for a functioning society. We're not in the same boat. You are in a little tiny wooden tinny that is sinking. We are on a yacht.
AI is going to eliminate this so-called advantage of IQ. AI is making it irrelevant. I don't know why you're laughing. AI is going to eliminate a biological IQ difference between different races, between different religions, between different countries. So that's a big problem for this kind of IQ argument. You're talking about people moving to the higher IQ West. Well, you have Christians from Latin America migrating en masse in the millions, 10 million over the past 5 years, coming into the United States. They're coming from Christian countries to the US. So you think that they're coming because it's a Christian country, or is it because of economic opportunity? And many people actually prefer to live in these countries. You have people in the US being passport pros and living in South America because they're tired of this shithole United States, unfortunately, what it's become, despite the high IQ.
90 seconds.
Why is that, Andrew? Explain it.
Switch over to Andrew. I want to remind you folks, please do self-regulate so that we don't have difficulty hearing the speaker. With that, Andrew, the floor is yours.
Oh, sure. Yeah, you can make that argument. There are some high IQ Christian nations that move to even higher IQ Christian nations, but none of them move to Muslim nations. You're not getting anybody to move over there, Daniel, because you don't have civilizations. You can't create civilizations. He says AI is going to come along and solve it all. You got to be smart enough to use the AI, Daniel. You have to be smart enough to use the AI. Remember, 70 to 85, that's your societies. 70 to 85. Basic jobs, practical skill, routine labor. Doesn't sound like a bunch of automation, robot building, AI savvy individuals to me, Daniel. He points out the ideas of IQ. Remember, we have to have a basic minimum for civilization, about 98 to 100 to 115. They don't have it. That's the distinction in our civilizations. And it's because of one value. Christians outlaw screwing your own family members. That's it. Simple. They outlawed.
And as long as the Muslims don't outlaw it, as long as they keep it going, their IQs are just going to either stay the same or drop.
No good. And even in places where it's legal, we must be adhering to the ecclesiology here, Daniel, because where it's legal, people still ain't their cousins. That's your societies, the ones that you build. And what you have built is a collective of some of the dumbest people on planet Earth who are at the mercy of Christians. And don't try to cope and say, no, they're at the mercy of the atheists. Give me a break. Everybody is at the mercy right now of Western nations and Western Christians, which are in them. And that includes Eastern
seconds.
Europe, by the way. So this is all cope. He hasn't refuted any of the arguments. How can he possibly say these low IQ societies, which Islam creates, are better than the ones Christians do on this one principle? I want to hear it.
Go ahead, Daniel.
Yeah, so you don't need to know how AI works to be able to operate it. That's why it's a evening of the playing field. I don't know if anyone here has used AI, but you don't.
Oh, it's so bad. It's almost Like, yeah, Andrew's face there says everything. It's almost unbelievable that that was his response to it. Almost unbelievable. And our boy Spyro just left a super chat, and he comes up and asks a great question about this later. So in order to be able to use the technology that all of the Christians and the Westerners built, you don't need to, be that smart or anything. You can just figure out how to operate it. But can you build it though? Who builds it though? You need technology and intelligence to build it, or else you are once again relying on the benevolence of the Christians who built it for you. Just, yeah, unbelievable that he uses this argument.
Actually need to know how to program AI to be able to use it. This is something that is very obvious, how AI is going to make IQ differences really irrelevant in the future, and this is what all of the futurists are saying. Second of all, you have Christians in more religious Christian countries going to less religious Christian countries. You have, again, the sub-Saharan Africans, you have the Latin Americans who are Christian going into more secularized nations. So this is, again, an argument for secularism, not for Christianity. You say that there are no Christians moving to Muslim countries. What about all the Christians in Africa, in the Philippines, in Southeast Asia that go to Dubai, that go to the UAE, that go to Saudi? That is a counterexample to your really bizarre claim. You also, again, look at what makes a society great. I think that's the overarching point that is so hard to believe that a Christian would make this argument. I value marriage. I value children. I value having big families. I value belief in God. I believe church attendance or religious attendance to places of worship. These are the things that I find valuable, and I showed you how within Muslim countries, all of these things are higher, despite having a lower IQ, which I'll grant you. Did you say over or 10 seconds?
No, you're good. That was 90 seconds. Go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah, so this is really funny. Imagine the irony of saying this. Well, Christians are moving to more secular countries. So are Muslims. Well, what are you talking about? The mass migration. No one's bitching about the mass migration of the Christians right now, are they, to Christian nations? They're bitching about it the other way around. Really interesting, too. He still hasn't refuted the argument. Notice he does everything we get in the He says, we really value marriage to our first cousins. To our first cousins, we think it's great. It's fantastic. We really value it. It's like, no, that's not a value of mine, sir, and I don't think that that's secular to say. It's not a value of Christians to not want to have sex with their family members. And by the way, can you please explain, even though I've asked you many times, how it could be possible, sir, that you create better societies than Christians where everywhere Christians go based on their ecclesiology, their ecclesiastic authority, and the fact that they're Christians, inbreeding goes down, making sure that the IQ at least sits somewhere around can function. Can you please, for the love of all that is good, I don't even care if you Google it at this point, just contend with the argument. How are you making a better society with inbreeding and your Muslim values, which over 1,400 years have produced the dumbest societies on planet Earth?
Wait, let me ask the audience a question here. I'm sorry. Let me ask the audience a question.
Appeal to the audience.
Are there electric cars being developed in Latin America? Are there new AI technologies being developed in Brazil and Argentina? Are they being developed in South?
Brazil, if you go to a place like Sao Paulo, which is a commerce hub, one of the commerce hubs of Latin America, or even Argentina, yeah, sure.
In sub-Saharan Africa, these Christian countries, because they don't have cousin marriage, do they, Andrew? So why aren't they developing all of these technologies, these amazing technologies, AI, nuclear weapons, fighter jets? I didn't see Brazil or Honduras producing any fighter jets, Andrew. Is it because they don't have cousin marriage? Why? They should be having this brain-blasting IQ in all these Christian countries. Why is that not the case?
They're higher. I mean, Argentina's average IQ is in the 90s, and Brazil's is around 89. So higher than the Muslims.
Christianity is the secret sauce, Andrew.
Then
tell me why these countries don't have those technologies. Explain it. Because the reason, I'll give you a spoiler alert, because it's not Christianity. It's not Christianity and cousin marriage that causes this discrepancy. And if you're so high IQ in the United States, how are you not able to figure out birth rate, fertility rate? Why are these countries going extinct? Why is Europe going extinct? Why is Christianity, these Christian countries in Europe, the population is on a nosedive despite the high IQ? They can't even figure out how to reproduce at replacement levels. Gee, I guess IQ.
You guys, whoever's like arguing against this point about Brazil in the comments is missing the point here. You look at Brazil, and it's a mixture of like conquistadors, you know, the Spanish and these sorts of cultures that moved in, and then you've got the native populations as well. And the IQ and the cultural standard has been going up in those places since then because they don't their cousins. This isn't the case in Muslim countries. They're not developing shit. If Brazil became Muslim tomorrow, they would start all their cousins, and then their IQ would just slowly go down. That's the point. The key point here is the cousin that we know leads to different developmental issues and a lowering of IQ, which causes the society's IQ to collectively get lower, meaning that they can't build basic infrastructure, and they also have to rely on the high IQ countries to survive.
Leads to extinction because it's correlated, right? The higher IQ you have, the lower the fertility rate. So it seems like the more Christianity you have, the more chances you have of going extinct, Andrew. Explain that for us.
Well, if that were the case, you're in big trouble. Because if it's the case that your IQ stays the same and then collectively secularist IQ goes up, what's to stop them from wiping all of you out and you can't do anything about it? Your argument, unfortunately, destroys you. When you say, well, wait a second, what about these South American nations, right? Yes, they're way more advanced than your nations. Way more. Not even in the same universe more advanced than your nations. Yes. The truth of the matter is that the reason Islam creates worse societies. We can bicker about theology, right? Hey, I'm sure Daniel could probably...
Funny, someone's saying in the chat, what's the average IQ of Australia? It's actually between 99 and 103. America is 98. Sorry, guys.
Probably get me on some points there, but you can't bicker on the facts. And he hasn't contended with the argument still. He's asked me a bunch of questions. Did you actually hear an argument, anybody? Because there isn't an argument. The reason Islam makes worse societies is because they have a doctrine for cousin marriage. Now, notice Daniel didn't say, no, you can't f your first cousin and marry her. No. He didn't say that because he probably believes that you should. He probably believes it's fine. He probably believes something about like it protects inheritance or something like this, right? The thing is, though, is like, can we please get an argument for how a society that doesn't at least have 100 IQ so we can have middle management isn't better than, well, donkey pull cart? That's what I want to know. And please, for the love of God, sir, when you say it's not because of Christianity, the entire historical record disagrees with you. When pagans were at 20 to 30%, guess what? It was Christians who brought that down.
90 seconds.
And by the way, in all of the Muslim shared nations with Christians and Muslims, they're always lower IQ than the Christians because they f their cousins.
Yep.
In time. We'll go over to Daniel, 90 seconds as well.
Again, throughout Christian history, you had sub 100 IQ. Throughout Christian history. It's only because of the Flynn effect in recent centuries that you have this change. So all of the criticisms that you're applying to Islam apply to your past civilization. How did you have a Christian civilization with sub 100 IQ, Andrew? Was the Byzantine Empire a S-hole? They had sub 100 IQ. How did they have a civilization without having positive 100 IQ? You can't explain that. You can have a beautiful, expansive civilization and empire with sub 100 IQ because there's other values that are significant to human existence. Values like marriage, family, God, worshiping God. You don't need to be a positive 100 IQ genius to be able to love and be devoted to God. I think that is actually more of the Christian message than this kind of IQ chauvinism that you're presenting. This doesn't seem Christian at all. This really doesn't seem Christian. You keep talking about like donkeys pulling carts. Go to the Philippines, bro. They're Christians. Go to the Philippines. Go to some of these African countries. Go to Botswana.
Philippines actually has a high rate of Muslims as well in there, so it'll be interesting to see the inbreeding rates between Christians and Muslims in the Philippines and the IQ.
Christian country, they have donkeys pulling. So they're apparently their Christianity and their lack of cousin marriage is not helping them. So this is a really bizarre argument, and all of you can laugh and chuckle it and laugh it up, but it doesn't change how stupid this argument is. If you have, okay, if IQ is
Want to remind the audience.
end all be all of civilization and the end all be all of progress, then why is the West going in a nosedive? All the things, Andrew, that you brilliantly, beautifully criticize about the West, the LGBTQ, the lack of marriage, that's happening in these non-cousin marriage countries. So clearly, having the highest IQ, so clearly IQ is not the end all be all.
Switch it over.
Let's take a look at the first straw man. Did I ever say IQ is the end all be all? No, of course not. Straw man still hasn't told us how Muslims build better civilizations when they produce 70 to 85 IQ individuals.
They can't build civilizations. They can't.
Who are basically only suited for basic jobs. Okay, still hasn't told us that. He can't tell you. He can't tell you that these are better civilizations. The reason that he can't is because they're not. They're clearly not. And the thing that's really funny about this is, like, let's just grant it. Let's just grant that, just for a second, we'll just grant Daniel's argument. We'll just pretend, well, you know, it's okay to have a bunch of 80 IQ people who can't seem to get past primitive technology and are just day laborers. But you know what? We don't do anything degenerate. Your cousin's degenerate, Daniel.
Thank you.
That's degenerate. Yeah, maybe you don't have hookers and OnlyFans girls, but your first cousin is degenerate. So by the way,
According to
let me just
what?
point this out.
He goes, according to what?
And this is really important to point out. He has not made an argument about how they produce a better civilization. Only I have. My argument is simple and still stands unopposed. Where Christianity goes, incest decreases based on canon law. Where Islam goes, incest increases based on their canon law. Therefore, where Christians go, society gets better. Where Islam goes, it gets worse. An argument would sure be swell.
90 seconds. We'll switch it to Daniel.
Just incredible.
My question is for you, Daniel. Using and maintaining AI requires a massive energy source and infrastructure in order to be used. If Muslims plan to use AI to make up for your nations, how do you plan to implement the infrastructure and build the necessary power to use AI when you can't even build your own technology? You buy it from middle management nations. And by middle management nations, in this case, you might not understand, I mean high IQ nations.
Here, let me paint you a picture there. So you have your high IQ nations, and they have the AI, and they have
He spurgs out so hard on this question.
their power sources, and you have the Neuralink, and everyone is plugged into the cloud, and you're like plugged into the masturbation machine with your nonstop virtual AI that you're addicted to, and that dopamine is surging. You're in a constant state of euphoria. And then guess what? The Muslims, the low IQ idiot Muslims that have been living in the desert with their donkeys, they're going to come and they're going to slaughter all of these people hooked up to the masturbation machine. They won't even be able to stand on their two legs because their legs have atrophied to such an extent that they can't even walk. That's the future of the West. That's the future of the high IQ. The horde, the biomass of Muslims are going to come with their swords because they don't have the high IQ necessary to actually develop guns and manufacture them en masse. They're going to come and slaughter all of the high IQ geniuses. That's the kind of future, right? Right?
So the West is going to be entirely run by AI, and everybody's going to be hooked up to their AI machines. And then the Muslims are going to come as hordes on horseback and kill them all with their swords. W question.